You just can't make this stuff up. Just when we all thought that 2020 had run out of surprises, just when we thought that there was nothing that could make the pandemic even more prominent in everybody's eye, then this week happened. So many surprises, so much confusion. Who could have imagined 6 months ago that in October the President of the United States would catch this disease? Who could have believed it? Now, we all wish him well, along with the First Lady and the others involved in this terrible episode in Washington, just as our hearts go out to all of those around the world struggling with COVID-19. As unsettling as it is, as frustrating as it all is, I think amongst all the bad news, it's important to remember that there's also more examples than ever of the pandemic being managed and its risk being mitigated. In fact, even though we're not through this just yet, we are getting close enough that there are wonderful glimpses of the other side. I'm certainly not going to minimize the trauma that this coronavirus has caused and is causing all of us. But progress is being made, and we shouldn't minimize that progress either. We should be pleased with it. So breathe. We are all so lucky. It's important that we remember just how lucky we really are. We've made it this far, and there are positive signs emerging all around us. In a few years, we're going to be able to be totally obnoxious to our children and our grandchildren, and we can keep telling them over and over again the stories of how terrible 2020 was. But right now, the winds of change are in the air. There are some very encouraging things happening amongst all the negative news, and I want to focus on those just for a moment because I think they're deserving of it. The key is science. Most importantly, we understand the virus much better now than we did only a matter of weeks ago. As you all know, understanding the problem is a massive step towards solving it. The first big advances have been on the medical front. Doctors and laboratories around the world have been developing therapeutic regimes, such as the use of steroids and remdesivir. These things are helping COVID patients recover more quickly. And even better, these new treatments are bringing the fatality rates down quickly. As the doctors and hospitals improve their ability to treat COVID-19, they make the illness less and less threatening. However, the really big news relates to testing. The improvement in our country's ability to test has been phenomenal. On the one hand, the capacity for traditional testing has grown exponentially, and we're now regularly seeing more than 1 million tests performed in a single day. That's unheard of. I think even more remarkable has been the development of new tests. The number of new test capabilities being prepared is staggering. The cost is coming down. The speed of each test is going up. The advances are so significant that I believe in the near term we will see more benefit from testing than we will from vaccines in the near term. I'm not minimizing the value of vaccines. Vaccines are the ultimate weapon against this virus, and their development has been nothing short of amazing. But I do think it's likely that a vaccine will be available before the end of the year, but getting enough for widespread distribution is going to take probably until sometime in the spring. On the other hand, faster, cheaper, and widespread testing will be much more impactful much sooner. Widespread testing enables contact tracing, and it's the one-two punch of testing and contact tracing that is so effective in limiting the community spread of the disease. That's why I believe it's more and better testing and more and better contact tracing that will have the quickest impact of bringing COVID-19 to its knees. The vaccine will still be a great shot in the arm for all of us and for our economies. Sorry, I couldn't resist the pun. But in the near term, testing and contact tracing will have the most immediate impact. As you know, last week the Healthy Sail Panel finalized its recommendations, and they submitted those to the CDC. There are a lot of things that distinguishes this public panel from the usual public panel that companies and industries normally set up. But I think there are a couple of particular differences about this panel that we and the Norwegian Cruise Holdings established. First is the caliber of the members. Everybody uses experts for such a public panel, but I don't know any panel anywhere else in the world that has such a distinguished group of people with such credentials and such extensive practical experience in these specialized fields. Our panel co-chairs, Governor Mike Leavitt and Dr. Scott Gottlieb, really did assemble an all-star team, and they led that team on a 4-month scientific journey to protect the health of the American public. Second is the transparency of the process. They announced who the panel was, how it would function, when it would finish, how it intended to issue its findings, all of these things out in the open. Most importantly, it invited outside observers, including the CDC, other cruise lines, and other experts to join its meetings. Lastly, it didn't just publish its recommendations, it explained the basis for those recommendations, and it explained the science behind their conclusion. That, I think, is an important distinguishing fact. We all know that you can't eliminate all risk of COVID, or anything else for that matter. Therefore, we asked the panel to help us meet 2 specific goals. A, reducing the risk of COVID to below the level in our guests' home communities. And B, assuring that we can properly handle a COVID incident on board efficiently and without inconveniencing all the guests or the local community. The panel made 74 specific recommendations towards accomplishing these 2 goals. By implementing the panel's recommendations, we intend to make our ships an environment, a bubble if you will, that actually presents less risk of transmission than in their home communities on land. To get there, the panel proposed a thorough and layered approach of several different operating protocols. It wasn't just one. Most importantly, they recommended that we institute 100% testing of everyone who enters the ships, guest and crew. Our industry has embraced that here in America with CLIA, our industry trade group, just announcing that all the members will have to do so here. No other section of the travel industry, no other section does 100% testing. In fact, no other industry in the world requires 100% testing. The closest anyone comes is the bubble that was organized for the NBA teams, and that's been so very successful. But testing, as helpful as it is, can't solve the problem by itself. Each individual step whittles away at the risk levels until you have architected an overall much safer journey. I compare it to a car. The brakes keep you safe, of course, and a seatbelt, and you've got even better protection. Then add an airbag, and you start to see the effect of a layered approach. You can see the full Healthy Sail Panel report at RoyalCaribbeanGroup.com/HSP report. The report, while comprehensive, is actually understandable and presents the science in a very clear manner. I really do encourage you to read it. I know the report does get a little bit nerdy in some places, but overall it's understandable and convincing. Again, the full report is at RoyalCaribbeanGroup.com/HSP report. And it's worth noting that in Europe, several cruise lines, including our own TUI Cruises and Hapag-Lloyd, have been sailing successfully for as far back as July under very similar protocols to what we've been talking about. The cruises have been enjoyable, and more importantly, they continue to be safe. Our panel came away convinced that it could be done. Our leadership team came away convinced that it could be done. And as we have met with government officials, our confidence has grown as well. The CDC and other regulators have been working on this for a long time. We're grateful for the CDC's focus on health and for the time they and their observers have spent on this important topic with the Healthy Sail Panel. We believe that's been very helpful. And we also believe that the world's understanding of the science relating to COVID-19 has improved dramatically. We have all learned from the mistakes of the past. We have used this time to good advantage, and I'm pleased with the process. Many of you know that we were scheduled to meet with the CDC and the COVID-19 task force on Friday on this very subject. Unfortunately, the unexpected announcement of the president and various White House officials testing positive caused that particular meeting to be postponed. But the lines of communication remain open, And we expect the dialogue to continue productively. And we are working on it. And now, soon, we hope to have the opportunity to put our plans to the test. It's not going to happen overnight. It is going to take time for this process to work through. And we propose to start slowly by training our crew and embarking on a series of non-revenue test sailings where we can rehearse and we can validate the new protocols. The process will be carefully evaluated by independent outside observers. And then, only on a ship or two at first, we hope to start sailing again. There'll be short cruises at first with limited destinations and controlled shore excursions. But as we learn and as the science continues to improve, we will expand. Then your business and ours can begin to regain some semblance of normalcy. We've told you from the start that we understand the importance of getting this right. We've told you that we won't rush, we won't cut corners, and we are still committed to making sure that we do it right. In fact, our research shows that every audience that matters to us, our guests, crew, governments, doctors, travel advisors, and investors, all of them expect us to move slowly and surely, but safely. I'm immensely proud of our people for sticking with us and helping us to get to this point. The workload has been tremendous, and the pressure and uncertainty have been absolutely nonstop. The very same situation goes for every one of you. Nothing has ever put our partnership to the test like these recent months. But together we have persevered, and we will continue to do so together. The day is closer than ever when we can meet in person, presumably on a ship, and we can even meet with haircuts that we can recognize. There's still a lot more work to be done between here and there, but the progress is tangible. And then, I have to say, go wash your hands, put on those masks. This is no time for slacking.